How the Nations Rage, Rethinking Faith and Politics for a Divided Age, is a book that I wrote in many ways coming out of years and years of studying these topics academically, but also living in Washington, D.C., and also pastoring a church in Washington, D.C., where a lot of members of the church are Hill staffers or military or lobbyists and things like that, and teaching the congregation through a Sunday school class, particularly on this topic, how to think about faith and politics. And there's two basic ideas that I try to communicate in the book. Number one, our political life begins inside the local church. It's inside the local church where we learn to think about and practice true justice and true righteousness and true love. So I say to Christians, look, if you're not living a life of righteousness and justice and love inside of the church, who are you to make claims for what should be going on in the nation as a whole? The second big idea of the book is that when we do step into the public square with believers and non-believers alike, the public square is nothing more or less than a battleground of gods. It's not like the public square is a neutral space where people can leave their god or gods behind when they step in. No, we all come on behalf of what we think is right and just, and what we think is right and just depends on who we think God is or what we think God is, big G, little g. So trying to think through this contentious relationship between faith and politics is what I try to do in the book. And obviously, I'm writing it in a moment where Christians are feeling more and more divided on this topic than ever before. We feel more and more division. We feel divided between the inside and the outside of the church and what the culture is saying. And then we feel that division inside of the church as Christians grapple with these things and come to very different conclusions and ask one another questions like, well, how can you do that? How can you vote for him? How can you vote for her? And is that justice? Don't you care about justice? So we feel a lot of this inside of the church and we feel it outside of the church. And so what this book, How the Nations Rage, is my attempt to sort of set aside for the moment all of the ideologies and partisan preferences we might have and just ask the question, okay, what does the Bible say? Now let me take that biblical perspective back into my party, back into my sense of national citizenship. I pray that it's useful to that end.